Tēnā koutou katoa. We will get started now. Tēnā koutou. Mihi tuatahi ki Ranginui, ko Papatuanuku me ngā atua katoa. Tēnā hoki koutou. Nāna nei ngā mea katoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Ki ngā hunga wairua, ka tangi mātou kia koutou. Haere i te ara taki mano. Haere ki te ara taki tini, haere ki te ara karere koe ki muri, karere kore ki muri. Nō reira, haere atu rā. Kia koe te āreke, ko ngā wai hono i te pō, pō tatau te whirawhiro tua waru, tēnā koe. Kia tātou, te hunga ora, tēnā koutou katoa, ka oro tonu tātou, ki etahi atu rā, he kākano tātou i ruia mai i rangiatea, nō reira ti hei. Mauri ora. Kia koutou, kua tae mai nei ki tēnei kaupapa, tēnā koutou i hoa mai e karemā. He maha ngā akoranga kei mua, nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Otawa rangiuru me maua oku maunga, ko raparapa āhoi me kaituna oku awa, ko te awa nui tōku moana. Ko Waitaha tapuika Ngati Ranginui me Ngati Tarawhai oku iwi. Ko te aroa me takitimu oku Waka, ko mere ana te pere ahau, tēnā koutou katoa. Hoi anō, nau mai e hoa mā, ka kōrero, ka kamihia te mātauranga, nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Me karakia timatanga tātou inai nei. Tukua te wairua ke rere ki ngā taumata, hei ārahi a tātou mahi. Me tā tātou whai i ngā tikanga a rātou mā, kia mau, kia ita, kia kore ai ngaro, kia pūpiri, kia whakamaua, kia tīna, haumia, huiei, tai.
Hiki e.
Tēnā koutou everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. The kaupapa for today is Achieving Enduring Success with Te Pae Māhutonga, Harnessing Māori Health Models for Strategic Impact. Firstly, I want to thank you all for joining us today. I see some past students in our midst. Thank you for joining us today, Steph. Kia ora, Steph from Tapuka Iwi Authority. Thank you for joining us. So thank you, all our guests, for joining us today amidst your very busy schedules. We do appreciate your commitment and your dedication to this kaupapa. Also want to give thanks to our guest speakers who have joined us today. You'll get to meet them soon enough. To Grant and to Fran, thank you for taking time as well and imparting your wisdom onto us today as well. And then lastly, to the team at HPF, Health Promotion Forum, for putting this all together. If you just joined us, my name is Maniapoto. I'll be your facilitator for today. So I come from the very beautiful Te Pae and Tauranga Moana in the Bay of Plenty, where I'm beaming in for you today. And the mahi I do is around the intersection of education and health promotion, currently working with Tapuka Iwi Authority. Right, just some quick housekeeping before we get into the guts of it. Please, if you can, leave your mic on mute, unless our guest speakers invite you to kōrero, because sometimes we can get some feedback. So that would be great. A reminder also that this will be recorded. For those of you who are members, you will get the recording to this earlier than the public would. So keep an eye on your emails for that. At the very end of this webinar, we ask that you show us your beautiful face so we can take a photo, so we can see who all joined us today. That will be right at the end, near the end, and we're looking to finish at 12:30. Questions. So as our guest speakers are sharing their knowledge with us, we do encourage you to, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and the very lovely Lavinia from Health Promotion Forum will relay those questions back to our guests. So please ask them questions. They love it. Sometimes you think of questions that they haven't thought of, so don't be shy to ask questions. In our chat, keep an eye on our chat as well for any important information that we want to share with you as well. We'll update those throughout the webinar today. And then last but not least, our lovely Emma Frost may ask you to do a questionnaire of some sort for our evaluation. We would love for you to do that, please. That is our bread and butter, and we'd very much appreciate if you can get that done for us. All right, on to the kaupapa. So our title again Achieving Enduring Success with Te Pae Māhutonga, Harnessing Māori Health Models for Strategic Impact. So the purpose of today is to provide you with guidance and encouragement as health advocates, as health promoters, on how to persevere, with our mahi during these really, really challenging times. And we are in the midst of some very, very challenging times. So how can you remain steadfast to advocating for the quality of health for everyone during a time of rapid policy change? How can you stay resolute in your pursuit for equity for the most vulnerable and the most needy when funding gets snatched away from you? And how can we all as health promoters navigate and endure these challenges to ensure a lasting impact for our people, for all people? So really quickly, health promotion in Aotearoa is guided by core principles such as equity, advocacy, and a deep understanding of the determinants of health. However, it's also firmly rooted in te tiriti o Waitangi. So in times of challenge, which we are amidst at the moment, whether as Māori, whether it's working for Māori or in partnership with Māori, strengthening self-sustainability is essential. Achieving this, however, can be very, very difficult, and it requires a multi-layered approach, a strategic approach, a collaborative approach, and vision that is intergenerational. So Te Pae Māhutonga is one of those things that can do that. To help you understand that, I'm gonna hand you over to the experts who can give you the really good information. To help us do that, though, we need to build a strategic roadmap, and these experts that you're going to listen to now have the really good insight on how we can do that. All right, so to help us understand, we have some health experts today. First off, we have the very lovely Fran Kewene. So Fran hails from Waikato, Maniapoto in England. So she was born and raised in Te Waipounamu. She completed her early tertiary studies in Wellington before building her career in public health in Ōtepoti, Dunedin. In 2021, she moved to Wellington, where she continued to contribute to the sector through her teaching and research. Fran brings a very unique and powerful blend of expertise as a Māori health promoter, a health protection officer, and a theatre deviser. Her work is deeply rooted in her identity as a Māori and British wahine, navigating the impacts of British colonisation. She's passionate about cultural safety, Indigenous theatre-based research methodologies, and autism advocacy. Tēnā koe, Fran.
Well, kei te mihi mahana kia koutou. Wow, thank you for the very warm and generous welcome this morning. I'm feeling a bit nervous. I know that sounds a bit weird, but feels a bit nervous in a new space, delivering some whakaro or some knowledge that I've gained, and hopefully plant a few seeds for you to keep grounded and keep lifting from where you are in your own place and space, mahi, whānau, community, hapori. So let's just get stuck into it, shall we? Let me share some beautiful slides that I've prepared earlier for you. I'm hoping that everybody can see this beautiful slide. Te Pae Māhutonga, we are navigators in a world of chaos, and it's really important for us to be reminded of lifting our gaze to our heavens, to be constantly grounded and guided in what we do, how we do it, and keep mindful of the multiple dimensions that are in the space with us. For me at the moment, what's on top in regards to some of the major issues for Māori public health, for me in health promotion, is the idea around misinformation. Our needing to have clarity and understanding of equity, and to reground ourselves and to continually force spaces in which we have tino rangatiratanga and self-determination. But today, sit back, relax. I'm going to tell you a wee pūrākau that is close to my heart. In July the 1st, 2022, my beautiful son, Yonatana, and his dad, Mike, sort of pictured in this image here. Yonatana is in a multicolored shirt with his name tag on. And at the time, we were just coming out of COVID, so he is wearing a COVID mask or a mask, and his dad is holding him from behind. And he is wearing a black and white shirt. He is also wearing a mask. So on the 1st of July 2022, Yonatana, his dad Mike, and I attended the parliamentary launch of Waikato Ministry of Disabled People. Following this launch, we also attended the mihi whakatau for the new CEO of Waikato at their new head office on the terrace in Whanau. It was one of those indescribably big days. A lot of work by countless people had gone on to launch a new government entity, especially and specifically for disabled people. Remembering that this work has a whakapapa and it just didn't happen overnight. There's been decades of disability rights being fought for and ground gained. The background to whaikaha is that there was consultation by the Crown in partnership with Māori living with a disability and non-Māori living with a disability who informed the design of this new taniwha. Something in the establishment of a government entity had never been done before, this apartheid approach to the development of whaikaha. And it was driven by tangata whaikaha, me o rātou whānau, for tangata whaikaha, which had led to this moment. Hence, this was the first government agency established through the gifting of a Māori name, whaikaha. And tangata whaikaha Māori is an umbrella term for disabled Māori or Māori with lived experiences of disability. Tangata whaikaha is a mana enhancing descriptor of people striving to have ability or be enabled. There are other terms used internationally, such as people with disabilities, which adheres to the social model of disabilities, where disability is considered a result of society's failure to meet the aspirations and needs of people. Disablement is thus imposed on people in society. And these kupu, disableism and ableism, are words that are used to describe disability, discrimination, and prejudice. Disableism is discrimination or prejudice against disabled people, and ableism is discrimination in favour of non-disabled people. And both terms describe disability discrimination, but the emphasis is different. Disableism emphasises discrimination against disabled people, and ableism emphasises discrimination in favour of non-disabled people. For us as Māori, from the recent Household Disability Survey 2023, there is an estimated 17% of people living in New Zealand households who identify as disabled. For Māori, that's 1 in 5. And this is 21% of our population. The Māori disability rate was higher than the national rate and the rate for all other ethnic groups. For Māori children, the rate was 14%, higher than the national rate of 10%, and for Māori adults, it was 24%, and that's higher than the national rate of 18%. However, this National Household Disability Survey has a different criteria to previous disability surveys, where previous disability surveys were self-identification of whether you were disabled or not, versus this current survey, which really identifies functionality. We've shifted from being represented to 1 in 4 to 1 in 6. But back to my son. Yonatana, my youngest son, was 20 at the time that whaikaha was launched. He's now 23. He has a diagnosis of autism and communicates with his expressions, vocalizations, body language, interspersed with interpersonal communication styles, such as sign language, picture exchange cards, and social stories. As an Indigenous person, autism is a problematic word embedded in a Western biomedical paradigm, inferring having an illness which needs to be treated, but on the flip side, opens the doors for educational and social supports and funding. Yonatana is a sensory being. He can be overstimulated by the environments he inhabits, which makes him withdraw, so he can recalibrate to engage and interact socially. He is like the tide while we stand on the shore. We know he will return, but needs to withdraw so he can have equilibrium. He kura urupari ia. More commonly, the word takiwātanga is used and as an alternative word for autism. Takiwātanga in English can mean to be in their own time and space, a word coined by Kere Opai in 2017 as part of a glossary of Māori terms for use in the mental health, addiction, and disability sectors. It was intended to address a gap in Māori vocabulary and provide a non-judgmental term for autism. As an aside, my PhD work is on the exploration of Māori mamas' experiences as carers of tamariki with autism. Yonatana, my son, is a sensory being, where sound, noise, vibration, smell, touch, taste, a wairua can overwhelm him. Kura urepare is a sensory being, and this is how I interpret this word to describe him, my son, and the way he experiences the world. In regards to autism, Bevan Brown in 2004 and Jessica Tupou et al. In 2023, their whānau from their studies describe situations where they had to choose between prioritising their children's cultural needs or their autism support needs. This highlights yet again the need for a holistic and culturally responsive support systems. And Simpson in 2021 highlights that a formation of a strong cultural identity we know is a protective factor for autistic Māori. Jessica in her work, Jessica Tupou, also found the importance of professionals working in partnership with our whānau, ensuring supports align with whānau preferences and priorities. And in the work of my beautiful friend, Mr. Ingham, Tristram Ingham, sorry, his name just completely went out of my head. But you can see Tristram, the other photo that is up is of a stunning group of people who are representatives of Te Ao Māori, Te Ao Tama. Sorry, as you can see, I'm still nervous, shake it off. The findings of Tristram's work represents multidimensional impacts for our disabled people. Ingham's work recently, in 2022, identified the critical intersections of racism, ableism, and disableism, identified the need to eliminate and to ensure that we had monitoring. Tangata whaikaha Māori need to be included in decision-making structures such as policy and practice, as well as equal partnership rights when it comes to designing systems and services that impact our lives. We need to be proactively engaging with our tangata whaikaha Māori in all our activities. Mahuta ki te pai a tuakiri rangaranga is a phrase that comes from and is included in Te Ao Māori's tama Te Ao Marama Aotearoa's whakaaro. So Te Ao Marama Aotearoa is an organisation that emerged out of the Ministry of Health's advisory group on Te Whai Ao Marama, the Māori Disability Action Group, and I was one of those members who transitioned from the advisory board sitting inside the ministry to an independent voice for tangata whaikaha Māori, and gained our own funding, and was recognised by the ministry at the time that this breakaway happened, sort of coinciding with the establishment of whaikaha, with tama sitting in the background, being a mechanism to ensure the voice of tangata whaikaha Māori, me o rātou whānau, were included in those decisions on the establishment of whaikaha. Out of the work that Te Ao Marama Aotearoa does, I had the opportunity to be associated and be nominated on the board of Te Wahi Tiaki Tātou, which was originally the locality's prototype, which came out of Hauora's Healthy Futures legislation to advance the localised voice and priorities of community into health deliverables. The beautiful actions that came out of this organisation lifted the voice of tangata whaikaha into the community. What we know is tangata whaikaha Māori within our community are often marginalised, and our voices are not heard in our community. And so through this project in Porirua, we were able to develop a community-orientated insights hui, where we gathered insights from tangata whaikaha in Porirua about their needs. And from those, we've been able to implement and employ a Māori disability advisor within Porirua to begin to action activities that are required for and by tangata whaikaha in our community. So I just wanted to celebrate some of the activities that are going on in the communities that I currently live in. I'm going to close on this particular image, which is hanging hinaki. And I think of these hinaki as our whanaungatanga, that at each knot is our connection and important relationships that we have with each other, and that those relationships strengthen into a basket to either capture or let things pass through. Those connections within the hinaki allow us to strengthen those relationships to build the things that we need to, based on the whakaaro of Te Pae Māhutonga, the importance of leadership and autonomy, and everything else that goes in between, but also to remember that these hinaki let things through, the things that we don't need, but they hold on to the things that nourish us, like our beautiful eels.
Kia ora, Fran. Thank you for that. Just real quickly before we move on to Grant, we didn't have any questions come through on the chat. Everyone's shy just like you at the moment. That's all right. But I've got a bit of a question. Because I was listening about, Te Ao Marama Aotearoa and how you worked through establishing a voice for tangata whaikaha. Was there, and I might have missed it, it might have been me, I might have missed it, but for you, Fran, was there anything, or was there one moment or a few things that happened that got your guys' kaupapa over the line, so to speak? Was there any moments where you felt, okay, this was crucial to our success, real quickly?
Yeah. So if I reflect back on the significant elements that are at play in both a localized initiative like Tiaki, the Porirua localities prototype, as well as Te Ao Tama, both those are about leadership. Those are also about visionary opportunities. So keeping our eyes on the horizon for opportunities that arise. So Tristram Ingham in regards to Tama is visionary understands the systems at play, the government decision-making systems, and able to see who's moving when and how, and being strategic in those relationships. In regards to our localized project, it is about kaimahi, who are also visionary, but also about getting on and doing the mahi. The community that I've worked with, I just need to shout out to Jodie Watani and Anita Taggart. They are two incredible people who were able to get plans in place to ensure that funding got out of the Ministry of Health before they shut everything down. So it's sometimes the stars have to be aligned, but actually it's about that getting on and doing what you can to ensure that you do the best that you can. So for me, it is about leadership. It is that manakura. It is about doing the do, and it is about ensuring relationships are strong and nurtured in the places and spaces that you have influence. And that goes back to the beginning of my kōrero. I am a mama, I'm a creative. Those are the places that I can have influence, and they ripple. They ripple through my whānau, they ripple into the communities that I live in, and the mahi that you do alongside other people. So yeah, just keep doing the do, keep breathing, lean into those relationships. I have this wahine beside me, and she, kotahitanga, solidarity, us together, and we can make a difference, but hold tight to one another. So kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you for that. We've got a question come in now, but we'll save it for the end when we do a wrap up, and then we'll move to our next speaker now. We'll go to Grant, and then we'll come back to your questions. Thank you for that person who put that question there. All right, our next speaker. Is Grant Bergen, a highly respected leader in public health and Māori health advocacy. He hails from the far north, Ngāpuhi, Ngati Wai and Te Rarawa, and has been at the forefront of driving transformational change in the sector. He's held lots of key roles, including public health leader at Hauora, CEO of PHA, where he championed co-governance and the practical application of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. He's also shared his expertise on global platforms, including World Health Promotion Conference, and lots of other things. Oh, one other thing I want to mention too, Grant plays a pivotal role in STIR, a nationwide network dedicated to eradicating institutional racism in public health. And I'm going to post some links for you in the chat too if you want to get involved and have a read up about what Grant's been up to. But kia ora Grant, tēnā koe, kei a koe.
Kia ora, Miriana, tētahi, me mihi atu ki a koe mō tō karaki hei whakawātea te huarahi mo ia mātou I tēnei ato o te rā, mō tō mihi wakatau ki a mātou. Nō reira tēnā koe ki a koe o te rā ki ngā member o te Rōpū Health Promotion Forum, tēnā koutou katoa. Me ngā aku rangatira, ko tatu mai nei I tēnei ata he whakanui te kaupapa e moi a tātou I tēnei wā, tēnā koutou katoa. Thanks, Miriana, for your very warm welcome, and thank you all for your participation this morning. I'm going to ask Emma if she could click up my slides for me, and then I'll hook into my presentation. But what I wanted to do, I thought I'd, when I was asked by Sione if I would speak, and I'd speak loosely around the theme of Te Pae Māhutonga, in the context of the big challenges that we've got here. And I thought that what I would do is I would kind of reframe Te Pae Māhutonga and make the focus about you, those of you who are on this webinar this morning. So this is for you. And I'm hopeful that during the course of the next 25 or so minutes, that I might be able to give you some practical tools that can assist you during these challenging times. And so with this first slide, yes, thanks, Emma. If you could stick that up. I'm going to lean into. I've been helping a mate of mine, Tanya Hodges, also a public health. I've got a background in health promotion, by the way, so I'm kind of hanging with mates. And my friend Tanya Hodges and I have been facilitating public health leadership programs for the last. I've been doing it for 16 years, but Tanya's been doing it for 22 years. So the first exercise for you, as I get Emma to put that presentation up, I want you to think, and if you've got a piece of paper, I want you to write this down. I want you to ask yourself, why do you do this work? What is the purpose of you doing this work? What is driving you? In terms of this, in terms of the work you do in health promotion. And when you do that, can I ask you to reflect on the values that underpin why it is that you've got yourself involved in health promotion? Are they the values to do with social justice, equity, those kind of things? So there's the first exercise I want you to do. And then I want you to reflect on tough days, reflect on your reason why you're here, why you've chosen health promotion. I want you to reflect on why it is that you got into this work. And sometimes we walk into a meeting, we know it's going to be rough. So we have a meeting with Te Hauora and people are going to lose their jobs. So just think, why am I here? What am I doing this for? And the reason why I want you to do that is to assist you to get grounded in who and what you are. Thanks, Emma. Can we go to the next slide, please? And this one is just to, we know this, right? So these are challenging times. We've got a government that's challenging in terms of public health, in terms of the health sector itself. So they're cutting funding, they're cutting jobs. In the public sector, we've lost 7,000 people. In the health sector, we've lost more than 2,000 counting, and we're going to lose some more. So there are lots and lots of challenges in front of us, and those challenges are impacting us in terms of our morale, our well-being, and our motivation. And so what we need to do is we need to detach from the drama that unfolds in front of us. And we need to take ownership of ourselves. We need to take ownership of our own autonomy, our self-determination, and our sense of well-being. We ought not to leave that to someone else. We need to take control of ourselves. Thank you, Emma, for the next slide. One of the key things, this one's about leadership. And I've got an image of my friend Sione. He will hate this, by the way. But I think he is the classic example of a true leader, in that leadership is about what you do. It's not about the role you have, or the more senior you get up on the hierarchy, the more it is that you're a great leader. No, it's not at all. My view is that leadership is, in a sense, the reverse. We talk about servant leadership. Every one of us who works in health promotion is in a role of serving others. We are serving the public. I think it's a sacred role. Forgive that language, but I do think it is. And in that servant leadership, what we are doing is not elevating ourselves and our egos and I want to feel good about Grant and rah, rah, rah. No, it's not. It's about lifting and elevating, particularly those who can't lift themselves up for whatever reason, who are voiceless. And for me, that's one of the reasons why I engaged myself in health promotion 35, 36 years ago, was this ability, this desire to assist others, not only myself. Now, this is a tool I want to share with you. It's taken me 68 years to get my head around this. This is a leadership thing, and it's about reading the energy when you go into a room or when you go into a meeting or when you go into work with your clients. Here's a tip. Here's a hack. When you go and read the energy, you know, you look around the room. By the way, my experience is that women are better than men at this. Women are more intuitive. So you walk in, read the room, get a sense of the energy in the room, whether it's up, whether it's flat, down, or wherever it is. Get a sense of when the meeting's going, the things that are not being said. You know, read the body language. So in terms of leadership, reflect on your own energy as a health promoter and be very conscious that when you're going into a place where you're going to be working with people, you are in a position of influence and power, and you need to be very conscious of the power that you bring, whether it's by your role or by virtue of your personality. Now, when you're conscious of who you are and what you are, be very conscious of your energy levels. For me personally, and we're all different, my energy levels are much higher in the morning and they are lower in the afternoon, evening. Therefore, in terms of our mahi, you will know this, right? Don't do the big things in the morning, in the afternoon or at night when you're tired. Don't do that because you'll make mistakes and you'll get shitty, and you know that's not the time to do it. So when your energy's up, that's when you go ahead and do stuff. When your energy is low, don't be afraid of doing nothing. Just stepping back and sitting in the space of solitude or whatever and reflection. But when you're flat, and that's why our families get it, because we come home from work and we had it, we're tired, it's been a long day and lots of stress, and then we start getting grumpy with our partners and grumpy with the kids, and you know that other side to us which isn't so nice comes out. So just be aware of it, because we are the balance of our good and bad self. So thank you, Emma, for the next slide. Thank you. This one here, te mana whakahaere. This is an interesting one because as health promoters, what we do is we always externalize everything as all our work's outside of us, right? So we're always going into communities, we're going into schools, we're going into different settings, and we tend to externalize because our work's out there, we're working with and for our communities, right? So what I want you to do is look and put the mirror up and look at yourself. And particularly when times are really challenging, by the way, challenging times always pass. They go, the tide comes in and out, energy goes this way, it flows in and go in and out. Same as your energy, it's in and out. And so when times are rough, just have confidence, it will pass. When times are rough, that's the time to reclaim our own autonomy. our own sense of who and what I am, my own self-determination. and in that understanding and reclamation of my own self-determination, I get the sense of detaching from what Donald Trump's doing in Ukraine or whatever he's doing, all the stuff that's going on around us, detaching from our ministers going to cut some more money out of our public health fund or whatever. What I do is I detach. I don't want to waste my time on that negative stuff. It's just a waste of time. Momo timer, we say in the Māori world. What I do want to focus on is I want to focus on what are the things that I can control. Not waste of time focusing, Grant, on stuff that I can't control. What are the things I can control? And then I want to shift my whole mindset is not around right and wrong. What I want to do, right and wrong is really challenging in this world of polarization. Instead of the right and wrong, I want to reframe that around balance and harmony. How do I firstly put myself into, with all this stuff going on around me, Grant, how do you find your balance? How do you find harmony with you first? Never mind with anyone else. I've got to find it with me. If I am out of equilibrium with myself, forget about going into a meeting and I take my negative energy in there. So I've got to set myself right. So make sure that you focus on only what you can control. All that stuff that's a drama that you can't control, detach. Let it go. Leave it. Just come back to stuff that's for you and what you can control. Yeah, so thank you, Emma. Can we go to the next slide, please? This one around Māori order, around cultural identity and well-being. Really, again, if I sit in front of the mirror and I say to myself, Grant, who are you? This is a really important question to ask ourselves. Who are you? So Grant wears a lot of masks. So one of the masks is I am a husband. And so take that mask off. Another mask I have is that I'm a father. So then I take that mask off. Another mask is I'm a kaimahi, I'm a worker, I'm a health promoter, for example. I strip that back. So what I want you to do is to ask yourself, if I take away all these masks that I wear around who I am, what is left? What is sitting there left? And then I realize, oh my goodness, I get my validation, my power is through my work. And if I lose my job, I am completely lost. Or if I lose my partner, if she boots me out, I'm completely lost. What we have to do as human beings and as health promoters is we have to do the work on ourselves. Who am I really? I mean, at one level, I'm a Māori, right? Frankly, it's by virtue of a DNA quirk that I ended up being a Māori. And I'm a strong Māori and I'm focused on tino rangatira and all of that. But I'm way bigger than Māori. All of us are way bigger than these masks that we wear. And so I just encourage you in terms of yourself and who you are and the roles that you play, take away the roles and ask yourself the question. Only you can answer this, by the way, and it takes a lot of work to do this kind of stuff. Who am I? Who am I really when my grandchildren aren't there or when my partner's gone? Who am I? Do I have a sense of my own identity? Thank you, Emma. And nurturing the environment. And again, health promoters are a lot more aligned to this than many of the other people that I work with. But I have a personal relationship actually with the environment, with Te Taiao. I try every day. I never used to do this, by the way, when I was a young health promoter and I was just going for it, and you know, I was bulletproof and all of that kind of stuff. I was too busy to do that hippie stuff, get in the bloody bush and, you know, they wear their sandals or bare feet. And it was all bloody hippie stuff to me. Actually, now that I'm a bit older, I'm like, gee, they were right all along. And now what I find is there is a connection, which is an energy, and we can find this in the science. The science collaborates this, by the way, that there is an energy in the greenness and the taiao in the environment, and it's a positive energy. And I get in every day, or I get in the water, and what that does is it helps to, particularly in times of challenge, I just like to get grounded, and I get myself in the water. I get in the bush. I do get in the bush. It doesn't need to be long, 10 minutes. Or if you don't have the bush around you, find somewhere green. You know, I've got greenery all around me in the house. All around me, I've got it. Because the greenery is an energy, and I need to tap into that when sometimes our humanity can be quite toxic in terms of the environments that we're in. So just to say, I encourage you to have those moments where you can connect with the environment that's around you. Because in my view, and we've all got our own views, we're all connected to the environment that we live in. Thank you, Emma, for the next slide. I'm going to have to move quite quickly through these ones. A toy order, I just wanted to touch on stress. So at times of stress, I want to show you this bell curve. You may be familiar with it. So on the left of the bell curve, if you are living a life where you're just laying on the couch and watching Netflix, by the way, don't do that. And don't scroll through your phones all the time. Don't do that. Keep telling my wife and Grant, I tell myself this as well. Because what that does is it wires your brain and you can't sleep. And also you lose your ability to recall data, all that kind of stuff. So in the stress curve, if you're doing too much of nothing, your performance levels are low. And the more you have a purpose in life and something to do that's meaningful for you, which is aligned to your values and everything about your essence of being, which is why you need to find out who you are, the more that you're in tune to that, the more it is that your performance goes up. But the more your performance, and it goes up, there's a correlation between your performance going up and the level of stress. You need some stress in life, everyone. You need stress to be able to operate at your optimal peak. And when you get to your optimal peak, there's a point where if you overdo it, and we all do it, you start to slide down into the chasm, into the abyss. And when you slide down, you move from peak performance into the zone of delusion where you keep going. You work late hours, you start early, you're tired, you're shitty, all the stuff's going on for you. You're getting dysfunctional in your behavior. You're drinking way too much coffee or alcohol or taking drugs or whatever to help you get through these long hours and to get through the stress. And what you're doing is you're detaching from all those things that are important to you for your survival, because you're so focused on the busyness of work and other stuff that go on. Work into sex with whānau life, pressure comes on, and next minute, bang, we crash and we get into major depression or whatever. So the point is not to get there. And your kids know it, or your partners know it before anyone else. People at your work know it. They know you're getting into that zone of delusion. And when you see your mate go there, check out your mate. Hey, you good? How's it going? Let's go for a coffee. I just noticed that, you've been a bit wired. You may have not have noticed that, but you're wired. And I just want to check in with you. And can you check in with me if you see I'm wired? We need to help each other when we get there, not to get to the burnout level. The key with stress is not stress itself. The key with stress is the management of it. And we've got to help each other in our workplaces, especially when things are tough. The best place to do that is when you have a coffee or a tea or on the break, go for lunch. That's the best place. It's when we look after ourselves. It's when we appeal to our humanity, bring that out and get away from the busyness on life. And finally, the last point about the stress thing, because I've got 2 minutes left, is time out. What we need to do every day is take these micro breaks, but just take time out, go for a walk, get outside, stop. So busyness is a killer, literally, gives you cancer. So take time out. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. Oranga, participation in society. This is, and we have the science and the evidence to substantiate this. But one of the biggest influences on our health, of course, there's eating and there's exercise, but one of the most important influences is our sense of belonging. Whether that's to our whānau, so it's a major mental health issue if we are detached. We've had a scrap with the whānau for whatever reason, and we're detached. There's nothing worse than scrapping with the one that you love. And we've all been there, that hopeless sense that comes with that. So being able to be part of something that is meaningful at the most fundamental level of being a human being, this thing of social participation, of having a purpose and being able to contribute, that directly affects our sense of well-being and our ability to operate. So one of the practical things I was thinking about for us, for you, is just reflect on, this is interesting, I asked this the other day, last week, have you ever been in a team that's been absolutely pumping? Like you just love it. You get up in the morning and like, yeah, man, I want to get in there, and you just go in, and it's not about the money at all. It's about your mates. You've got the synergy going, where when you're working with 2 or 3 people and the energy is just magic, and the stuff you're doing is magic, you're just way overperforming. Compare that with a team which is toxic and flat and really hard going. All right, and we've all been in those teams. We've probably all been in both those teams. Then what I want you to do is ask yourself, in both of those, what did I contribute or take away, both to the high performing team and also to the low performing team? Was I the toxic element? Was it me that was the cause of all that downness? Perhaps, because sometimes we're blind to ourselves. Quite often we're blind to who and what we are. And sometimes our mates are so kind, they won't tell us. So there are 2 things. Think about if you've worked in a high performing team and a low performing team, and then ask yourself the question, what was my contribution or my detraction to both of those scenarios? Thank you, Emma. Can I have the next slide? And this is the final one, the final slide for me, which is the flourishing through adversity. What I want to say here is the way we view the world is all in our head. And if we want to view the world as doom and gloom and woe is me, then that is going to be our reality. If we want to see in the world, I'm not a Christian, and all good if you are. That's, you know, no, it's not a criticism. But there is a line in the Bible, and I read the Bible quite a lot, which talks about creating heaven on earth. And I love that notion of, notwithstanding the doom and gloom, we have the ability, because we control our minds, so we have the ability to create our own heaven. I don't think heaven is something that's up in the ether or whatever. I think it's here. It's in my, it's part of me. And if I want to be in heaven, I'm the one to create it. And if I want to be in hell, I'm the one to create it. I have a choice. And whether I'm in one state or another, and there's an oscillation, I determine that by how I think first, and by what I do, and by who I hang with. If you're hanging with people who are always moaning and groaning, get a new mate, you know, find someone who's uplifting, and they'll lift you with it. So practical exercise, here's one in your workplace. You get a mate, and you just, for 5 minutes to start the day off, you practice gratitude. And you just say, what do you feel grateful for today? You know, I get Miriana. Hey, Miriana, mate, what do you feel grateful for today? Miriana goes, oh, you know, I'm so grateful for my whānau and blah, 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 whatever it is. And you let it out. You sing your praise of gratitude out there. You let it go. You don't hold it in here and not tell anyone I'm grateful. You let it go. It'll come back, by the way. And then it's my turn. And I say to Miriana, I'm really grateful for this moment to address health promoters. These are people who have been like this with all my life. And I just love being part of this audience, and they lift me up. And man, when I'm in their company, we can change the world. So practice gratitude with your mates in order to build and sustain workplace relationships. And just those little things can be helpful. And if I go to the final slide, if you keep going down, that one, that's it. My final thoughts, I just want to share this. Talking with Manu Neho last week, and we were talking about karakia. You know, karakia, which is a conversation with the universal. Whether it's a prayer or it's a meditation or whatever, it's a conversation beyond yourself with those things that are bigger than yourself. That whole holism that Brian Roche is going to get rid of in the public sector. But anyway, Manu said, be the karakia. You know, we recite the karakia. She said, instead of reciting the karakia, be it. You embody those values of the karakia when you recite it, so that it's not only an invocation, but actually you are it. People look at you and they can see in you, oh my goodness. You know, you don't need to say a word. As you walk and you do your practices at work, you are the embodiment of that karakia. And I just loved it. I love that sense of we are more than just this thing here. We're part of this wider greatness, frankly. I want to thank you for your tolerance and perseverance of me listening, and thank everyone, and kia ora, everyone.
We've got one question. I've got a question for you too, Grant, but we've got one from Steph come through. So Steph said, Steph is from Ashburton Community Alcohol and Drug Service. Absolutely love hearing your kōrero, Grant. Thank you for sharing. You asked us to reflect on our why earlier. I'd love to hear your why if you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Steph, I had the sense when I grew up, this foreboding sense that things, I was being treated as a second-rate citizen, Steph, when I was a kid. I just, I got the sense, and later on I could articulate it as a whole range of things, social inequities. We've got the language, Steph, those of us in health promotion, we have the language. But when you're a kid, you don't have that language. You just think, what's going on? So I had this deep sense of low self-esteem about being a Māori. And of course we were poorer than my mates and all of that. But what happened was when I went through a period of revolt as a teenager. I revolted against it. It was the anger in me coming out. And then I got into radical politics, Steph, as a young man, trying to find out how I could resolve that. I found my way to public health, Steph, health promotion, first of all. And I loved it because there was a synergy, and it didn't matter whether my mates were Pākehā, were Indian, Chinese, we all had those values, the synergy about social justice and improving things. And it just resonated with my whole sense of being. And I'm like, yeah, man, I've been there all my life because of that. Some people go elsewhere, they might go to the church or whatever, it doesn't matter. But for me, I found public health and I loved it. I embraced it, it embraced me. And I've been able to do so much that has filled my tank. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Steph, for that. One last question before we move on to our third speaker. So Grant, my one's around coming back to Te Pae Māhutonga, and around tribal leadership. So, and this is something that I've found out in the real world, in the working context with iwi. So what's your advice on how to build a harmonious working relationship between generations that disagree on the best way forward for the community?
Yeah, there will always be a tension, and it's good to have that tension. The tension is a positive tension between generations, but often what it does is that tension transforms into conflict, significant conflict. So my advice, and we all experience it, Mariana, is a detachment. This is a very hard thing to do. It's a detachment from the ego. We always say we're detached from the ego, but actually the ego gets in, and the ego takes offense at every blimmin' little thing, right? And the moment we detach from the ego and focus in and have an understanding on everything in life is, I call it, there is a non-sustainability about everything in life, which is simply a reflection of everything is in a state of transition. We shift. I'm born, I live, I die. My son is born, lives and dies, my mokas and so on. Everything is in a state of transition. And so it is the same with iwi leadership, Mariana. There's a state of transition, and us older people have to accept the young ones are going to come through, and we need to guide and embrace them and allow them to be who they are. Kia ora.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you for that. I'll try to write notes down while you're talking. Anyways, hoi anō, we're going to go to our third speaker now, and I'm going to introduce him real quickly. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Fran. At the end, we're gonna wrap up with the three of you. But right now, we're going to go to our last speaker for today, Sione Tuitahi. So Sione brings with him the voice of our treaty partners. Today, Sione will discuss health promotion, but also Indigenous knowledge and leadership and global challenges. So Sione is the president of the International Union for Health Promotion and Education, IUHPE, and has extensive experience in governance and leadership. He's currently the global president of IUHPE, including vice president of communications and co-chairperson of the Global Working Group on Hauora, Planetary Health and Human Wellbeing. He's an educator, a researcher, a former journalist, broadcaster with published work across books, academic papers, children's stories, and TV scripts. His personal interests include human rights, globalization, Indigenous knowledge, and the intersection of science and religion. Sione is also an honorary senior research fellow at the University of Otago. Tēnā koe, Sione, whakalawhalahi atu.
Tēnā koe, Mariana, and thank you to acknowledge our tō rangatira who have shared their wisdom, Grant and Fran. My point of joining our corridor today is just to make three things and to share three things with you. One is to acknowledge the taonga of Te Pae Māhutonga and its short history and the blessing that the Health Promotion Forum of New Zealand has got as a result of having Te Pae Māhutonga from one of our most outstanding leaders in the country and in Te Ao Māori, Sameson Duri. At challenging times like this, we need to go back to the taonga of our elders and to learn from the past, to galvanize ourselves, our strengths, as we face the challenges of today and prepare the tomorrow for our children and grandchildren. As Grant and Fran have shared already. And the other 2 points I'd like to mention is not only the history of Te Pae Māhutonga, but the contributions of the Health Promotion Forum to this kaupapa of leadership at all levels, local, national, and international. As already shared, we are talking about this model or framework that Sameson gifted Aotearoa and the world, for that matter. First in 1999 at a conference at Kirikiriroa Marae in Hamilton. It was a conference organized by the Health Promotion Forum. And then in 2004, he shared it, launched it at international level at a conference in Melbourne of the International Union for Health Promotion and Education. In 2019, 20 years later, we asked Sameson to be one of the keynote speakers of the World Conference on Health Promotion of the International Union, IUHPE, and the Health Promotion Forum in Rotorua. And he presented a new model to combine with Te Pae Māhutonga, and that was Matariki. We have shared his presentation in the public arena, and if you want, if you haven't got a copy, just let us know. We will link that to that amazing piece of work. Of course, there are 6 stars, but I will follow what Fran has done to delve deeply into Manukura, but I'll keep it short. And it's leadership. And Sameson talked about collective leadership, the professional leadership, the tribal leadership, community, sectoral, and political leadership. And the challenges of today are when these leadership come to meet at a space where we might not be able to see eye to eye. But there's also another level that we need to be aware of leadership, not only at the national level, but also at the regional and the global level. In other words, there are at least 5 types of leadership at 5 levels that we need to pay some attention to. There is the individual, and a major part of what Grant presented was for you, the health promoter, the individual leader. But there's also the whanau leadership. There's also the community leadership level and the national level as well. That's where Health Promotion Forum sits, but also we contribute to the global level. There are times when the local level are challenging. We need to bring down the wisdom of the national level. There are times also when the national level can contribute to global level and vice versa. And so what the Health Promotion Forum has contributed over the years is to try to connect and bring together some of the levels of leadership from the global to the national. At the end of the day, as Grant said, it's not about yourself, it's not about the self, it's about the community that we serve with courage and humility and justice and equity. It's about the Hauora. It's about the well-being of all. And as a final slide, I'd like to remind us that we may not see eye to eye at times, but we are still, one system. We are autonomous parts of the same whole. And as Grant said earlier, we need to remain grounded on our values and our principles, such as justice, collective well-being, holistic well-being, equity, humility, and with aroha and pono, with love and justice. We need to remain focused on our goals and our outcomes, but with evidences to prove our value to our stakeholders and ourselves, of course. We do not exist as individuals or institutions just for the sake of being in existence. There's a purpose of life. We need to tune in with the universe. And Grant, again, has really elaborated this very clearly. And at times of challenge, we reframe our values and our goals with constructive and collective resilience. What do I mean by that? It means we continue to engage with our stakeholders, whether it's the government, whether it's the funder, whether it's the community. We engage in a constructive way, not in a deconstructive way, not in a critical way only, but also in a way that you build up. You understand the parts and you rebuild it to become the whole again. So you refrain and you engage in a constructive way with collective resilience. There are times when small canoes will row to each corner of the fishing area and do their own fishing. But when the storm comes, we need to come together and huddle together. And again, Fran and Grant have touched on this very important point of leadership at all levels, the individual, the whānau, the community, the national, and the global level as well. And we continue to adapt beyond the change. And if we are clear with our values and our principles, if we are grounded on our goals and outcomes, we can reframe the change in a constructive way with collective resilience to continue to head towards our destiny. And that is the well-being of all, with no one left behind. Those are some of the brief, rather summary lessons that we have learned over the years that we hope that will help you. And all of these are framed within the 6 stars of Te Pae Māhutonga. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to Grant and Fran for sharing your gems of your mind and the wisdom of your heart. We have certainly benefited from that. Today I learned how to use the Finaki better than before. It's wonderful. And again, as Grant said, keep calm, continue to move with courage forward. So I'll pause there, Mirana, and the rest of the time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sione. What I might do now is open us up to gallery view, Emma. We've got 15 minutes left, so I thought what we might do is let everyone ask their questions if they wanted to, so we can do a full view where everyone can see everyone, please, Emma. I don't know what that's called. Oh yeah, we're there. Cool. So I know there was a question for Fran. I'll let Lavinia ask that one to you, Fran. But real quickly, while I remember it, can I ask you a question, please, Sione, about global leadership? So the question is how, as someone sitting here listening to you today, who may or may not have any experience with global leadership, what can we do at a grassroots level if anything? Like, it might be hard to understand. Like, can we influence global leadership? Should we? Why should we? For someone who's not accustomed to looking at leadership at that level.
I think there are two important things. One is to know that your life and your work and your service is a journey during your lifetime on this plane of existence. So you're not going to learn all the wisdom in your teenage years from, your 0 year to your teenage years. In your adulthood, you'll learn more. So that's part of your journey. And you gain, the wisdom of indigenous knowledge and other forms of knowledge as you go along. The other two is to know that we are interdependent, and that's what whenua is, that we are inextricably one with, Papatuanuku and Ranginui, with the whole planet, with the universe. And what goes on at the local level impacts directly at the global level, and vice versa. And so when there's a war in Ukraine, as Grant referred to earlier, the prices of food and gas, go up here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and in Tonga and other parts of the world. So no one escapes from the impact of war, climate, environmental calamities, and economic systems that are obsolete, that we are still practicing today. So be aware that you are a global citizen, you are an Aotearoa. Do what you can do at the local level, but know that you are connected to the global level. And if it's meant to be that you contribute to the global level, one day your turn will come. I myself did not design it that way, but it so happens because I align with the values, as I mentioned earlier. Justice is everywhere, at the grassroots level and at the global level. And so I am taken to that level because of the experience I've got and the pathway that I've led. And I think Fran spoke about, his pathway in life. So know the context, and remember, it's a journey in your pathway. I hope that helps, Maria.
Yes, thank you. Sometimes for myself personally, it's a challenge to understand how you can fit and contribute to something like on a global level. So takes the pressure off. So we had a question for Fran. I can't remember, sorry, who asked this question. But Fran, the question to you was, what do you see in the future for whaikaha and the people or communities that your kaupapa was set up to support?
Kia ora. Great question. And this morning has been a beautiful inspiration. Thanks, Grant and Sione. In regards to whaikaha, that will always be an unfolding beast. On one hand, whaikaha is now a government entity, but has no commissioning power, so it's got no clause. And our people will continue to make our voice heard in those decision-making spaces within whaikaha as a government agency. But I think if our gaze is more around not only ourselves, so linking my thoughts into Grant's, I hope you don't mind, is that we have to centre ourselves first. What does our work, what does our family look like to make sure the voice of our tangata whaikaha are heard? And that whatever activities that we're doing, that tangata whaikaha Māori are at the table with us and included in our activities and not sidelined. And that when we're thinking about project developments or projects that we're implementing, kei Herenga tangata whaikaha Māori, where are our tangata whaikaha Māori in those plans, because we have our sort of homogenous Māori worldview, but actually tangata whaikaha Māori are distinct within our communities. We have our own needs, we have our own aspirations, and therefore our voice is valid within the context within our whānau. But our tangata whaikaha Māori's voices need to be heard. Thinking about our, health promotion project plans, those sorts of things, our community development plans, we need our community to participate. Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you, Fran. We don't have any more questions from the floor as yet, but I've got a question for all three of you. And it's around the practical application of Te Pae Māhutonga or something similar. So do you three, or any of you three, have any instances or stories you can share about when Te Pae Māhutonga was used as, say, a framework for strategic planning, or a job description, or something like at that level to influence organizations? Can you three share any of that? You go first, Grant.
Yeah. I remember working for one of the district health boards as a general manager for public health, and we used Te Pae Māhutonga as the framework to guide our strategic planning, and then the implementation of service delivery on the ground. And then, of course, we were flexible around how we did that locally, made sure that we accommodated the local hapu in terms of how they wanted things to move. But the overall framework worked really well for us.
Oh, any, off the top of your head, any pitfalls or any really good things that came from that?
Any pitfalls? No, not really, because it was a Māori framework and we were working with Māori communities and we were flexible. So in a sense, we would say, we go into the hapu around a particular kaupapa and we're saying, we're thinking about using this framework. So, you got to get permission. And what do you think of this? And they, no, it's a good framework. Really like this. But we'd like to do it this way for us. And I say, yeah, that's all cool. So that worked really well. Any negative reflections on that? No, they weren't negative. Sometimes whānau had other models, like Te Wheke or Te Pari Tapawha or whatever. I say, nah, Grant, we're already involved using this particular framework.
Any blind spots in your experience?
Yeah, you've always, so I always think that with a framework, and not just Tar Mason's framework, with any framework, I always have, I learnt this when I was a young guy, I leave an empty box, and the empty box is the stuff we haven't got in the framework. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, I always, it's like, the moment you know something, it closes your mind to other opportunities because you already know what the answer is. And it's the same with the framework. It's just the start of a thinking process. It's an archetype, it's a metaphor, it's a symbol. And it has real value and ability to be able to pull us together like this. But I always put an empty box around the stuff we don't know yet.
Thank you. That's helpful as.
Yeah,
Sione and Fran, you can go.
Yeah, my experience with Te Pae Māhutonga, it has been used for framing research. It has also been used to frame health promotion programs. If you Google, you'll see that a lot of public health entities across the country and health promotion units and providers use Te Pae Māhutonga. Public Health Association used Te Pae Māhutonga in 2007 for framing a conference, but also its web program. I was involved with that. And yes, it has been used very widely. It is also adopted in some countries overseas. As I mentioned before, it has been launched. It was launched in 2004 by Sam Mason at a World Conference of IHBE. The value of Te Pae Māhutonga is, it is now more relevant than when it was launched 25 years ago. And why do I say that? Because 25 years ago, the thinking that was dominant in in public health and health promotion in the West is about social determinants of health. There was less focus on the well-being of the environment as a big determinant on the well-being of the whanau, hapu, and iwi families and communities, and in individual for that matter. But when you look closely at Te Pae Māhutonga, you see that the well-being of the individual, the family, the whanau, and the environment as well is covered comprehensively. Not only that, but you have the ultimate purpose of being autonomous, given the context of Te Tiriti in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but also effective leadership. So whether the sailing is plain or rough, you still lead yourself towards your purpose. And you lead it in the major dimensions that impact on your well-being. Your cultural identity, Māori, access to Te Ao Māori. There is the environment, as I mentioned before, and that's Waiora. There's also Whaiora, participation in society, that Fran delved into in her presentation. And of course, lifestyle, from not smoking and drinking too much and all of that, Toyora. So it's a very comprehensive framework to frame any health promotion program you'd like to decide. And not only it's inclusive, but it's also and used, therefore, can be adapted by other communities outside Aotearoa. But also it is inclusive enough to include science. In short, this is partly a response from Semezonduri to the Ottawa Charter. About almost 10 years later, when the Ottawa Charter was launched in the 1980s, as you know. I have the bounty of working alongside and be guided by Semezonduri, and I've seen the application of his work, including the model, on a number of contexts, and different spaces where it has been used. So it's still, as I said, available today, and again, it's more applicable now than when it was, first launched in 1999.
Thank you, Sione. And I'll finish off this one with you, Fran. Do you have a response for that question?
Look, I could keep going on, but I'm mindful of our time together. Yeah. So just Sione and Grant reflected on Te Pae Māhutonga beautifully, and Grant actually has raised a question in our. But mindful that Te Pae is just a framework.
Yes.
We use it in our education here at the university. It's the framework that we utilise in training the next generation of health promoters, but also mindful, as Grant identified, there are some gaps, and there are opportunities to bring in new models that flow out of Te Pae. It shouldn't constrict us, but it's a beautiful place to start and to grow from, to make sure that we've got all our touchstones in place to grow from.